Good morning. It's Tuesday, June 24th. And on Monday, the Israeli Defense Forces launched a huge, powerful strike at an expanded set of targets across Iran. This action has many nations across the Middle East braced for the possibility of a wider war. And Iran is weighing its response to the U.S. strikes on 3 Iranian nuclear facilities. And it said at an emergency meeting at the UN Security Council that it reserved the right to defend itself against blatant U.S. aggression. Now, President Trump believes that these actions that were taken by the U.S. will cause a regime change in Tehran. Now, that's not what the top U.S. officials believe, but he continues to claim substantial damage to the nuclear facilities without providing any additional evidence. And the International Atomic Energy Agency is still assessing the damage. So we have a mismatch of opinions going on about this raid and about what's going to happen in the future. So there's definitely a possibility of a wider war. And that's what Arab states fear, that they will pay a price if there are strikes on Iran. Arab governments, especially in the Persian Gulf, had once taken a hawkish line toward Iran, but now worry that the U.S. strikes could upend regional stability and hurt their businesses. So this attack that the U.S. has launched on those sites in Iran have caused a lot of problems for the rest of the region, so to speak. Persian Gulf states, such as Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, which once upon a time cheered the elimination of Iran's nuclear program by force, now criticize the American intervention. Saudi Arabia denounced the violation of Iran's sovereignty, while the United Arab Emirates expressed deep concern. Governments across that region have called for increasing efforts to negotiate an end to the hostilities before the area finds itself engulfed in the horrors and the dangers of war. And Oman, a long-time diplomatic broker between Iran and the United States, said the actions taken by the United States threaten to expand the scope of the conflict and constitute a serious violation of international law. So there are many Arab states that fear the results of the U.S. attacks on Iran. And I can't blame them. They would be caught in the middle of what could be a monstrous situation. Now, these statements that these countries have been making is a change in the attitude from the last time the U.S. and Iran appeared on the brink of war. In 2019 and in 2020, during President Trump's first term, they also reflect the considerable realignment of the regional politics brought about by the rapprochement of the Gulf states with Iran, and the assessment by many Arab governments that Israel has shown, particularly by its war in Gaza, is more of a threat to the Middle East and its stability than Iran is. So now, because of these conflicts, Israel has been brought into the mix. And there's no question about the U.S.'s action was taken in a defensive posture for Israel. But now they've got all these Gulf states pointing their finger at Israel again. And they will always be pointing their finger at Israel. Nobody wants Israel to exist in that region of the world. So now, Iran has repeatedly threatened to retaliate for American strikes by targeting U.S. military facilities that ring their particular region, including several in the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia and Qatar and Oman, as well as bases in Iraq and Jordan and Bahrain, home to the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet and host to some 8,300 sailors, is particularly vulnerable. The small island kingdom is the only one of its neighbors not to have a diplomatic relationship with Iran, and it lies directly across the Persian Gulf from Iran. So we have a mess in the Middle East right now. And wealthier Arab countries have warned that an expansion of the conflict could disrupt oil production and block many shipments through the strategic Strait of Hormuz. And other prosperous entities would be hurt if these actions take place. So this attack has created a storm of incidents around it. Conditions that I'm sure that no one in the U.S. thought about. The results of what this attack would mean in the broader scope to that entire region. The Gulf, as they have claimed, is a business-first entity, and instability is bad for business. So now if you have a war going on there and you're affecting those businesses, those people are pissed off at the United States because of that. And they don't know how it's going to end up when everything settles down. So our attacks, which I was in favor of, have caused chaos in that region of the world because none of us here really understand the whole makeup of that economic situation. So we have to look closely at what we're doing. But maybe they did. Maybe our government knew exactly what it was doing and didn't give a shit about the result. It was important to strike Iran and hurt them. So if that was the major criteria and not worrying about the after effect. So I leave you with a very confused situation in that part of the world. And we'll just have to wait and see what happens now. So have a great day, and I'll see you in the morning. Bye.